Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life, and that's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/Android. And by LegalZoom. Keep your business moving forward and let LegalZoom help out with the legal stuff. For special savings, visit LegalZoom.com and enter AAA in the referral box at checkout. And by Hover. Register a domain name with Hover and build your online brand today. Go to hover.com/twit and save 10% off your first purchase. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About Android. This is episode 339, recorded on Tuesday, October 17th, 2017. We're your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
Hey, Ron, how's it going? And there we go. Now we see you. And then who else?
And I'm Florence Ion.
Radical. How you doing, Flo?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. You know, can't complain.
Good.
Livin, you know, as they say.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who says that other than in that movie. Dazed and Confused. That's the only place they ever say that. Joining us once again, it's always great to get our friend Jerry Hildenbrand from Android Central on the line. How you doing, Jerry?
Pretty good. How are you?
Fantastic.
I am Livin.
Livin. I love that movie.
It's a good movie. It's a good thing to pull from.
Yeah, it is. One of McConaughey's probably best roles. I don't know if I'm a McConaughey fan, but I liked him in that movie.
I'm a huge McConaughey fan, and that's probably as close to McConaughey being McConaughey as it comes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Jerry, I'm super thrilled to get you on today. We're always stoked to get you on, but today especially because you've been writing some pretty awesome articles, and we have one story that we're going to be talking about today that you kind of did a little explainer about, which I'm not going to lie, I'm going to need to lean on you a little bit on this one and trust that you know the way, Jerry.
Cool. I mean, I do try. And this one, yeah, I got it down.
Excellent.
I know what's up here.
Right on. We've got a lot of news to discuss. Of course, here, what we're talking about right now, you've probably already heard of KRACK. It's the KRACK attack on Wi-Fi. We'll dive into that. It's a different type of crack. The ZTE Axon M, which is very strange but interesting. Flo had some hands-on time with that. Google's new imaging system on a chip. Project Treble kind of in effect right before our eyes, and tons of your feedback. We have a lot to dive into. But before we get to the tasting, the treat of the day, Ron, you got something.
Yeah, quick update for all you those who know at home. I've been rocking my Nexus 9 since it came out, right? And there's the tablet. That is what a dead brick tablet looks like.
Rest in peace.
Not because it's no longer supported by Android updates or security updates. Rather, the USB connector is broken on the inside and I can't charge it.
Oh.
So it is dead. So it served a good tour. Its time has come to an end. But I have a trip coming up next week. I'm going to be on vacation. And I was like, oh, I need to read, so I'm going to need a tablet. And so I actually pulled the trigger, and I picked up the Asus, which one is that? What is the M10? No, the S3? What is the Asus model? I forget the number. It's some combination of numbers. The Asus, I'm blanking on it. Gosh darn it.
I don't know.
M100?
No, it's the Asus. What is it? I'm sorry. It is the S310. No. S3S10. That's
3S10. Okay.
The Asus ZenPad 3S10. So I'm going to be putting it through its paces. I just got a case for it today. 10-inch tablet or 9-inch tablet. Right out of the gate, I miss stock Android. Having Asus's Zen UI on top of it is slightly annoying. Yeah. But not too bad. It's pretty close to stock. It's not as bad as some other ones. But it was like $270 or something like that. So for a moment, my finger hovered on the Pixel C buy button. But the fact that that's over 2 years old, I was like, no, I don't want that old of a device. and I didn't want to go Samsung. So I'm going to be running this through its paces. In a couple of weeks, I'll come back and do a full review of it. Even though it's an old tablet, but still, it's this is what we do. This is our like what hardware do we use on a daily basis?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
Curious to see if it lives up to your expectations. Does it, as the promotional copy on the marketing site for the tablet, does it excite your eyes with a realistic viewing experience?
I will say the display is very nice. It is. I was impressed. I don't know if it delights. What is that quote? It delights your eyes.
Excites your eyes.
I don't know if my eyes are excited, but I was impressed by it. It's got an external SIM card, external SD card,
Okay.
right, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like all the specs on it were, like I went through all the reviews and kind of what everybody says which one to get and all that sort of stuff, and it seemed like a pretty decent piece of hardware. Nearly 10 inches. Like real, like I think 4K video or something, really strong video support. Mainly I use it to watch video at the gym and read books on Kindle or read comic books or play games. So that's what tablets are made for. So I know tablets are kind of a dead hardware category, but I'm still holding the flame on. So
2K resolution, not full 4K, but 2K.
Close
Good
enough.
Good enough. Right on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're actually going to be out next week, but maybe when you get back, you will have spent some time on the plane with the ZenPad 3S10. And
not only on the plane, but on the beach.
Oh,
so
that's an important modifier. Thanks for rubbing that in.
There you go.
You could use it to cut limes if you don't like it.
Yeah, how thin is it?
I like it.
How thin is it?
Wait, let me take it out of the case. Let's see. We can. I think I can cut limes with this. Yeah, we could do that.
If not, you could smash them. I'm sure. Let's see here. The Oreo treat of the day. This actually came. This was given to us, but apparently just me because no one else is in studio with me except for you, Victor. You're going to get to eat some of these. Patrick Delahanty gave us a flavor I did not know existed: the Dunkin' Donuts Mocha Oreo. We're getting real.
I'm jealous. I'm not there.
It says enjoy.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not going to labor this. There it is. There's the whole package.
Dunkin'
Looks
Donuts,
like an Oreo,
huh?
except with brown filling. Take a bite. Okay. I guess it tastes like a mocha. And the ceremonial entering of the studio by people that want some has begun. I hand it over.
They heard the bag open up, right?
Yeah, I think they wait. Wow, there's three people standing here waiting for Oreos. This is a very interesting sight to behold. Mocha Oreos. I gotta say I'm not too impressed, to be honest.
Really?
I mean, it's okay. I don't know. 6. I'd give it a 6.
Here's a
6?
question: Are you numb to the Oreo flavors at this point? Like, at what point have you gone too far into Oreo land?
I may already be there.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to take a lot to wow me, and I think I appreciate it. I'm sorry, Patrick. Thank you for bringing the Oreo cookie. I really appreciate it. But
you looked like you gift Oreo in the mouth.
He stomped out of the room.
Yeah, you made him mad.
I'm sorry. I think the next couple of weeks we'll have to zero in on Halloween inspired flavors, which I know they are in the stores now. So, and those of you that hate that segment, I don't know what to tell you.
I'll help you find some.
All right,
I'll
cool.
be there to try them with you next time.
We will do this, and I would appreciate your help because I can't eat the whole package myself. No way. All right, it's time, Victor. I hope you're ready to push the button because it's time for the news.
It's time to release the Kraken of Android news.
Oh yeah,
that might have been Victor's best one yet.
Yes,
I'll be honest with you.
He's getting it. He's getting it. He's warming up.
There was a lot of other ways I could have gone with that. But.
Yes. That one was meant for the news bumper. So if you didn't already know, people are going bananas over a Wi-Fi vulnerability that's been dubbed KRACK, spelled with a K, K-R-A-C-K. Jerry, you wrote up an awesome explainer on this. Actually, I have to give you total credit where it's due. So many of these stories happen where it's like, this vulnerability on Android, and everybody should be frightened because it affects 89.9 million, percent of all users of Android, and you're never going to get updated and whatever. You're always the voice of reason because you write these awesome explainers where you come in and you pick it apart and you don't buy into the negative hype necessarily. You kind of explain it to a point to where it's like, yeah, you know, this might be bad, but how is it going to actually affect you, and what are the things that you can do to protect yourself? So you did that again here. Really appreciate that. What is KRACK in this particular, you know, reference of the word?
And is it whack?
Yes, is KRACK whack? I think it probably is. But what can you tell us about this?
Everybody knows you need to enter a password to log on to Wi-Fi, whether it's your own or, you know, if you're at a hotel or whatever, you need to enter a password. The system, I'll use the word system, and you people out there that know that's not quite right, don't yell at me, that oversees the administration of that password and the encryption and making sure everything matches is called WPA2. And it's been around forever, and there's never been any serious real hacks against it. And then all of a sudden this, and it, in the case of Android, it just totally defeats it. It affects every Wi-Fi device.
Everyone.
Now, everyone. Microsoft has patched Windows 10 and I think Windows 7. iOS, watchOS, macOS, and OS X. They've made a distinction there. The betas of the next version are already patched. As far as phones, that leaves Android.
Yeah.
Google has the patch. The patch went into the upstream Linux kernel the minute this was announced. But of course, there's the distribution is the problem. Google says it will be in the update that's coming on November 6th. So maybe 1% of the people that have a Nexus or a Pixel or a BlackBerry phone will have the patch, and then the rest has to wait for everything to roll out. It's not the end of the world. Nobody can steal your password and log into your Wi-Fi. What they can do is get around the restrictions so they can see the traffic that goes back and forth between your Wi-Fi router and your phone or your computer. And that's not as scary as it sounds either, because what they can't do is if you go to a website and you look up at the bar where you enter the address, you might see a lock, you might not, but you'll notice most of the time it says HTTPS. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That means it's encrypted end to end, all the data you send back and forth. If they get that data, and they can't do anything with it. There are ways that you can brute force and decrypt that, but I mean, I'm not a movie star or work for the government. Nobody's going to take that, take the time to do that to me. And while I love you guys, they're probably not going to do that, take the time to do it for you either, or anybody listening. If you're just, you're not a target. It's just not worth it. The big problem here is not that it affected so many devices or that it affected Android version 6 and higher so much worse than any other devices, but that Android is so popular and it's going to have such a difficult time pushing out the patch. That to me was the real story behind all this. But of course, the internet hears hack and Wi-Fi and affects every device, and everybody freaks out. And I think sometimes the goal is to make everybody freak out with some of the language people use.
Yeah, news is very reactionary. Like
Yes.
the news cycle is very reactionary, and people that write the news, and I mean, we are absolutely included in that, because when you read
I
something
am
like
too.
that, it's hard not to, at the very least, address it, but at the very most, really kind of think it through to like, what's the worst case scenario? What is possible? It always hinges around, well, what is possible thanks to this, not what is likely. And
Right.
More often than not, and you point this out time and time again, what is likely is not what is possible in all of these cases, because there's actually a lot of elements that have to kind of come into place that just it's not that you can't expect that that's going to happen to random person connecting to the internet.
Absolutely.
that would ever happen to you.
If you want to go by what is possible, oh man, shut your phone off
Yeah.
and put it in a tinfoil bag and throw it away.
Right.
But what's practical is the real issue. If somebody can easily steal your data that lets them get into your bank account, that's going to happen. Thankfully, that's not easy or even possible. I don't think anybody's been able to, hack Apple Pay or anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have a tempered reaction. And oddly enough, I'm the type of person. Okay, the minute this was finished, I started checking my router firmware. This stuff drives me insane. I try to be very security conscious. And I hate the fact that the phone that's in my pocket has a known live vulnerability and the entire world knows that it's out there. Mm-hmm. But then again, I can tell myself, it's like you said, what's practical versus what's possible. And in this case, it's not much is practical.
Mm-hmm. VPN plugging in your computer, are these ways to I mean, obviously HTTPS is one way to know that you're encrypted on both ends. But
one note on HTTPS actually, Jason, which I think is interesting. Generally, there's such a movement on the web moving to HTTPS. I just recently, for one of my sites for ifanboy.com, we just recently moved to a new server and went through the whole, added the SSL certificate, so we have that encryption and all that sort of stuff. Previously, one of the problems with my old servers was I didn't have a certificate in there, and I actually got a note from Google saying, FYI, your site does not have HTTPS. After this date, we will show an error message to people who search for it, not an error message, but a warning message to be careful. So like Google's taking aggressive steps to not only protect users, but to make sure server administrators are applying SSL certificates to their websites, as they should, because that leads to a safer web. But I thought that was really interesting to get it from a SysOps standpoint from Google saying, hey, you need to install this.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's maybe it should have been done a little earlier, in my opinion,
Yes.
but I love to see it be proactive, not reactive.
Yep.
And then kind of tying back to what you're saying is kind of the bigger story. And this absolutely comes up time and time again. And it's more and more of a frustration for me. And I think we all agree is just kind of the prolonged update chaos that swirls around Android, which is just the fact that knowing that this exists, like you say, knowing that people understand that it exists, it's a known vulnerability, whether it's going to happen to you or whether it's not, it exists. If you have the wrong phone, and let's admit that, be honest, that a lot of people have the wrong phone. They have a phone that's never going to be updated, never going to get a security update. You just kind of have to trust that it never will happen to you. And I mean, that's just, I wish that there was some way. I wish, and maybe Project Treble is kind of the beginnings of Google taking this whole update aspect of the OS seriously, but we still have to wait a long time to see the effects of that. But I really wish we could get to a point to where this wasn't an open question. Like, is it possible to expect Google to require OEMs to push out security updates? I mean, how would that even look, and is that possible?
How would you penalize those who don't follow the rules?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Google's already in hot water in the EU. If they took another step and said, okay, if you can't keep your phone up to date, we're going to kick you out of the Play Store, they would kick Google out of the EU.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. Google isn't responsible for Samsung. Part of me thinks that they should be. Google's name is on the box. If it were my name, I would want to do everything I could to keep it, a little bit shinier than it is. But in the end, it's the original agreement was, okay, if your phone can do this and this and this, you can use the Play Store and we'll let you pre-install it. Okay, it did. It's done. That's the agreement. It's finished. Mm-hmm. It's a shame. Open source doesn't work that way. Open source software only works when all parties involved have a desire to keep it up to date. And that doesn't happen with Android. And that makes me kind of sad.
Yeah. It's always about the next shiny thing to sell. Why support your catalog when you've got a new device coming out in a month and you want everybody to just buy that new device?
And capitalism, y'all.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've talked to a lot of people that work at LG or Samsung or HTC. They want to do this. They want to keep the phones updated. It's a lot of work, but it's not so much work that it's insurmountable. it's just a time equals money sort of thing, and they just do not have the time or the money to keep every phone updated as long as they can.
Yeah. Well, fantastic stuff there, Jerry. Really appreciate you kind of breaking that down a little bit. In other news, Ron, this is another way to protect your users, I suppose.
Listen, it's a rough way. It's a rough week, that's for sure. So we're all very excited for the Google Home Mini. I've got mine ordered. It's supposed to ship, I think, this Friday. I think so. I'm very excited about that. But then I saw this note from Android Police's Artem Rusakovsky, who got a Google Home Mini to test, and he found out that it had been recording him thousands of times per day. And how that happened was that on the Google Home Mini, you can now tap you could tap the top of the device in lieu of saying the wake word. So instead of saying "Okay, G," you just tap the device and you could do it. Turns out there was phantom taps that were firing off the device repeatedly. And of course, once you tap it and wake the thing up, it starts listening and recording. And so all of that data was backed up onto Google servers. And so he had a listing of thousands of entries where it's just recording the room at the time. He didn't tap it. It was these phantom taps that are happening. Since then, Google has announced that the tap touch feature is permanently removed from the device going forward. So this is not like, hey, this doesn't work, we're going to do a fix. It's gone, which is crazy.
So that just means that the capacitive thread that they use to cover that Google Home Mini chassis or whatever, it's so sensitive that they just had to cut off the feature altogether because this fabric is just so conductive.
Maybe. So maybe that's it.
Yeah. Is this the same fabric that they're using on the Jacquard?
I was going to say,
and I doubt it.
I've heard a lot of theories here. The one that makes the most sense to me is it's the adhesive.
Oh, okay. All right.
A little bit of overspray, and if the adhesive is capacitive. But I think mostly because I've heard so many theories, the smart thing was probably just to disable it and not try to fix it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. What do? You've got to figure they have a couple million of them at least already made and in a box. Do you throw all those away and start over?
Right. If it's a quality control, method or aspect of not knowing how much adhesive, if adhesive was the issue, is too much for it to trigger the phantom taps, and what is the payload that Google ends up with, whether they wanted it or not, and how is that interpreted by the greater public that already is a little bit hesitant about bringing these devices into their homes that can do this sort of thing.
If you asked yourself, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen to a device like Google Home or the Amazon Echo? Well, somebody finding out it's just been randomly recording and uploading is it. And that's what happened.
That's about as bad as it could possibly get for those devices.
Have you guys considered that perhaps the ghosts of our pasts have finally come to haunt us, and that they're just using the technology in our house as a means of communication?
Yeah. In Artem's case, that ghost is called Artem's Luck, I believe. Hashtag Artem's Luck. Go to Twitter, just put in a hashtag Artem's Luck, and you'll see all of his problems. Yes, it's true, though. He has issues. For whatever reason, he has technology demons on a regular basis, and this is just
maybe it's the Easter egg for all of us.
Oh, joy!
Planted by Google.
The last week of my life on a server. Oh, joy! All right, so we've got a bunch of hardware we're going to dive into in a moment, but before we do that, let's thank the sponsor of today's episode of All About Android, and that is Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. If you've gone through the process of getting a mortgage, I don't need to remind you of the process, and there are some pain points along the ways. It's not as digital, let's say, and at least it wasn't when I went through it. It was a lot of manual hand-holding, a lot of pulling information from a lot of different places. The whole process wasn't keeping up with the times. It was dated. It needed a client-focused technological revolution, and that's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage gives you the confidence that you need when it comes to buying a home, or even if you happen to be refinancing your existing home loan. You can do that here as well. It's simple. It allows you to fully understand all of the details so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. It's convenient. They have trusted partners that allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage at the touch of a button. So you don't have to go diving into those stacks of paperwork, go into your filing cabinet, all that stuff to find that information and then provide it to them. It's powerful. Whether you're looking to buy your first home or your 10th, Rocket Mortgage is able to perform thousands of calculations in seconds, and it's all based on your income. Also takes your assets, your credit, all of that information pulled in. Rocket Mortgage can then analyze all the home loan options for which you qualify and then find the one that's just right for you. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. If you want to get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Android. That's rocketmortgage.com/Android. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support of All About Android. All righty, it's time for a little bit of hardware. Flo, a foldable phone.
Well, yeah,
I'm so excited.
I was thinking about you, Ron, when I first saw this phone a couple weeks ago. Excited. I was like, oh my gosh, Ron's gonna really be into this. But are you into it? I mean, did you see anything about the ZTE Axon M?
No, I did. I'm into it. I'm totally into it. But tell us about it. Yeah, I'm into it.
Okay, so basically the ZTE Axon M, the M stands for multitasking, stands for multiple modes. So it's a foldable phone. It folds into a 5.2-inch phone shape, or it folds out into a 6.8-inch tablet-size device. Both of the screens can work in tandem, or you can use each of the screens to have a, display a different app, or you can use a mirror mode so that you flip the phone into kind of like a tent, and then you can watch movies with another friend, each of you with your own personal 5.2-inch LCD display. The displays are 1080p, and inside this Axon M is a 2.15 gigahertz Snapdragon 821 processor, so it's a little kind of on the last year side. 4 gigs of RAM and a 3,180 milliamp battery, which a lot smaller than what a 6.8-inch tablet device would usually have. I believe most of those usually start at like 4,000 at least, 4,500. Of course, you're not really supposed to be using the two displays all the time. It's just the idea that when you need it, it's there. If you need the novelty of it. And in some cases, that kind of reminds me of the S Pen. It's like, it's good to have, and then you're kind of finding reasons to use it. Also interesting.
There's no reason to use this. I love it.
I mean, like the idea of it is, you can make the browser bigger. Like you can flip it open, and then
the only thing I can think of,
browser window.
The only thing I can think of is that it's kind of like a virtual sidekick. If you have the keyboard take up the entire bottom of the window and the top is the messaging or whatever you're doing, and then it's like the old T-Mobile Sidekick phone from 10 years ago, like kind of like that. But other than that,
it feels like that.
Does it? Yeah.
With the hinge as you open and close it.
That hinge, that one photo of the one that we're showing right now of the hinge in between the display. It's like.
And the thing is, the phone is bezel, like quote unquote. Well, it's not bezel, but bezel-less. But on each side, it's whatever, edge to edge. So it like looks fine when it's just kind of folded together as a regular phone. But then you open it, and and then there's a giant hinge in the middle of a 6.8-inch display. So it's like
great.
The tracking is fine because it just it just reads your fingerprint when you're on either side, but it's different. It's a different experience. Also worth noting, there's only one camera on this. It's a 20 megapixel front facing camera. It shoots at a 1.8 aperture. Yeah, it's one lens. So it's always in selfie mode so that when you're doing your like Instagram stories, it's there. But if you need to flip it around, then you just hit like the regular flip around camera button. That's in every camera app. And then you flip the phone. And then the other side becomes Finder.
You know what this reminds me of? Victor, if you go into the doc below the link for the PC World article, I put in a link to a video. This was what, 2012? March of 2012?
Yeah. Good call, Jason.
Is this the Lenovo one?
No, this was the Sony Tablet P.
Okay.
Yeah.
And reviewed the Sony Tablet P. Although the difference here with the Sony Tablet P is that it closed into a clamshell where the screens were on the inside. As you can see, I started the review with a split screen to kind of denote the hinge.
This is what the Axon M looks like, or when you had that bar in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It was not easy to get used to. But anyway, similar. I mean, it was. I give him props for trying something new, I suppose. But
the thing is, though, Ron, I was thinking about you because we were complaining. We were saying how ridiculous it was that the foldable displays would kind of leave behind a crease, like a book cover on a library book. And, when I saw the way this implemented it, I was like, okay, I can see that. Like, I can see that, like, being an implementation. But the long-term, like, benefit of it, it's such a different, like, concept compared to everything else. And it's such a thick device compared to everything else that's coming out. It looks
like an old Game Boy.
It does.
Like there's those old Game Boys that flipped up. I gotta give you I gotta give you credit and props for writing this article, including the quote: "The Axon M is meant to help solve a pain point for those who often need access to a bigger screen but don't want the hassle of packing along a tablet."
I mean,
that's someone. That's someone out there.
But like, how many people is that?
Jerry, how many people is that? Do you think that what kind of mass market success will the ZTE Axon M see when it's released in November?
I'll bet if you open up an XDA forum for it, you'll get quite a few people to buy it.
Yeah.
There is, in its current configuration, limited by what ZTE wants you to be able to do with it. I don't see any appeal. But just say, oh, here, and it's unlocked. You can write whatever software you want. I would get one.
Mm-hmm. It's an exclusive to AT&T.
Well, yeah, that's a little bit of a limiting factor, right? Exclusive to AT&T Next subscribers, $24.17 per month on a 30-month contract.
Like, as an unlocked phone that I could just take around the world, honestly, it sounds kind of enticing. It's like, oh, maybe if I'm just little Miss World Traveler, then I would just have this little device that could act as a 1 and a 2. But
yeah,
does anybody remember?
What's that, Jerry?
Ages ago, Sprint and Kyocera got together and made something similar, except it was 2 actual phones with some big crazy hinge contraption with an 1.5 inch of bezel in the middle, and you had to use a special app to make the 2 work together. But it was kind of the same concept where you could take 2 and turn it into one big one, except, this is kind of bad. The Kyocera one was like horror bad. So the idea has been refined. They did it right and actually made a phone that folds in half. And I don't know. I give them credit for trying something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, me too. We all know that, like, I'm what I want to see is different things and different approaches. And so, yeah, I give them great credit. I mean, I've wanted a foldable screen for ages. This is a solution, and what's great is that if you think the foldable option is silly, having a 2-sided phone, we've seen that with the Yoga, whatever that was.
The Yoda phone. Yeah. Yes.
Yoda phone. Yeah. But this is a full color screen. So that's cool. Like I ZTE Axon M, thumbs up on my side. It's ridiculous and I love it. So
I was genuinely surprised when like it was whipped out at the meeting. I was like, oh my God, this is completely not what I was expecting. Like I was just expecting like a bigger, I was expecting like an Axon 8, like another, brushed metal phone with like perforated grill. And it's just, ooh, masculine and like whatever, metallic and blah, 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 blah. But no, it was a foldable phone with a foldable display. It's like a tablet. And it's good to see something different, It's been a year. It's just good to see something different. Okay.
Jerry, I did some searching. I think the link. Okay, so now underneath the other link that I told you about, Victor, is a new link.
You found it.
I think I found it. Is the Kyocera?
The Echo.
The Echo. I'd never even heard of this one before.
Oh shoot! I didn't even know about that one.
That is no. You're better off for not knowing about that one. Look, it's two separate phones. I actually used it for a little bit to see. People said, Jerry, what do you think? And I'm like, well, you don't want to know what I think. But it's two separate phones, and you have to use a connector app, and it has to support the apps you want to use, and it makes the two phones work together. That's not a foldable phone by any means.
Yeah.
So ZTE is correct when they say they made the first foldable phone, because that's two phones, and it's hooked together by Satan.
And you can do all the switching. There's like a little button that lives in the navigation panel. So it's there every time you need it. Maybe I feel like a couple years ago, this would have maybe been a little more outstanding.
I just don't know that this form factor is ever a mainstream form factor.
Especially compared, like just the way it looks and acts compared to a GS8, a Note 8, a V30, like, and I'm even feeling a little like judgmental of the Pixel for just being kind of like a tiny bit like thicker than what else is out there, because I feel like that's an outdated aesthetic, or at least that's where we're going. Everything's curves now.
Yeah, it's true. Nothing's foldable. Not until Samsung does that. And then Apple does that. And
but
then
I want to see
everything's
what that's
foldable.
gonna like. What is this foldable display? Like, how are you gonna achieve this with plastic?
Well, you'll just have to get
challenge.
You'll just have to get used to dimples on the screen.
To get to the actual foldable phone, we had to step here first.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Baby steps.
Stepping stones. Yeah, very good
progress. Innovation progress.
Jerry, you wrote about Google's custom system on a chip on the Pixel 2. By the way, Pixel 2 review embargoes lifted in a big way this morning. So reviews all over the map. People seem... I don't feel like there were any real surprises from the reviews that I read. Pretty much was what we thought it would be, which is very good with some limited exceptions. But Google announced this morning the Pixel Visual Core, that is their own custom system on a chip that resides on the Pixel 2. It's not fired up yet, so I think in a future update they're going to kick it into gear. What do you know about the Visual Core and what it's going to do for these new phones?
I think the best way to describe it is it's akin to Apple's machine learning coprocessor that they're putting in the iPhone X. It doesn't replace the Snapdragon 835, and it doesn't really supplement it. It's separate. And when the Android 8.1 developer preview goes live, they're going to enable it for the HDR Plus for the camera. And they're going to actually use machine learning. Like if you take a picture of a face, it recognizes that it's a face, and that'll help it know what to blur for portrait mode. Or another example, I talked to a couple people about it. Take a picture of a beer, a bottle of beer, and it can read the label, and it knows what that label's supposed to look like, and it'll help it make the colors correct. It does that through machine learning rather than the way we take photography now, where you depend on color information, and then the sensor on the camera communicates with the actual processor to turn that data into a color we can see. I am really excited about this. Even if it doesn't work, even if it stinks, I'm excited about it because Google finally made their own hardware.
Yeah. I like it. I like it too. I mean, seeing something like this come out of Google and combined with the investment or partnership or whatever with HTC, I think it shows there could be potential about Google designed hardware in a way that we haven't thought about.
Absolutely.
Up to this point, at least. Yeah.
Google can build multi-core ARM processors for supercomputers. All their, TensorFlow stuff, a lot of that's in-house built. So it's a natural leap to take it to phones.
Yeah, miniaturize it, put it on the phones. I mean, TensorFlow is a prime example. TensorFlow Lite, was it that they talked about Google I/O, about bringing all of that AI and processing onto the device itself. Clips is an example of Google bringing AI into the device so that it doesn't have to hit the cloud, and that seems to be the direction. So over the next couple of years, I imagine that's going to open up a whole bunch of opportunities, and also I would imagine alleviate at least some of the concerns that people have about the data that's required to do a lot of these smart things, and sending that to the cloud and just handing that to Google. The more they can move that onto the device, the more open people will be less resistant anyways to using that stuff.
Is this going to become a Sorry.
No, go ahead, Flo.
It's always a delay on Skype. Is this going to become the new official way to look at smartphone camera hardware? Because if Google's doing it with AI built in, it's just making me think about how, it's a really good marketing angle for why other phones might be inferior as far as shooting photos, in all honesty.
Well, I think a prime example of that, right, is this whole portrait mode trend that's going on right now. There's a lot of computational stuff happening on the iPhone, for example, to do that. But iPhone also has two lenses, and a lot of the other phones have two lenses to pull that off. Google, from what I understand, I'm guessing here, I know that they reference specifically HDR Plus as being an automatic thing thanks to this once it's activated. But I imagine this has to be tied into that as well, because there's a lot of computational stuff happening in a single camera to pull off that portrait mode, to know for the phone itself to determine that this is the source, so keep it in focus, and everything behind it, without any sort of perspective or depth, figuring out computationally that everything behind it should be blurred out.
Absolutely.
It's advanced stuff.
I know I'm more excited. I can't get too excited about HDR Plus, building an entire SoC just to do HDR Plus. Right. But and that's officially what's going to get supported. Unofficially, they're working on other stuff. I heard the words daydream thrown around from a couple people. There's so much opportunity here, and that's what gets me excited.
Yeah, augmented reality is a big deal. AR, VR, if they can rope that in and use this in a whole bunch of other creative ways, which is what you're referring to, what you're alluding to.
When you need an escape from real reality, there's augmented reality.
Exactly. If that's still as big of a term and effort in 2 years as it is right now. Who knows? VR was pretty darn big last year, and it's kind of settled down a lot. So we'll see what happens. Ron, you got the next one.
Yeah, well, we were talking earlier about Project Treble, and here might be a good example of Project Treble kind of in action. As basically the idea of Project Treble is to modularize the operating system to keep the vendor components separate and allow them to be updated in an isolated away from the operating system directly. So the XDA poked around Pixel 2 in the Verizon store, of course. And they found an APK called Pixel 2017 graphics driver installed. So technically that means the graphics driver, a vendor component, could be updated via the Google Play Store via the APK. This could be a sign of things to come for updating phones and the like. A good looking under the hood by XDA, that's for sure. Jerry, what was your take on this?
I love it. Not only does it mean that not only does it mean that Qualcomm or the actual GPU manufacturer, let me put it that way, can update the GPU the GPU drivers independently, Google can update the rest of the software without worrying about the GPU drivers. And that's the important thing. Let's say Samsung can do this. that means Google creates a security patch it can just install.
Yeah.
And that's
And if they're doing that at this point with, you know, something like a graphics driver, one could extrapolate and extend that out and hope that, you know, down the line, more components are, you know, are treated in the same way. And, you know, more and more you end up removing. I mean, the whole idea behind Treble is this direction towards removing these things from the OS so that they can each be updated independently, so that, I don't know, a security vulnerability happens somewhere down the line, and maybe before it required a whole OS update. I mean, we have Google Play services, so that kind of gets around this to a certain degree as well. But maybe before it required a full update, now, you know, Google can just push out security updates, and that won't be affected by the vendor stuff that's going on under the hood. That would be a great
right. And they started with the hardest part. The graphics driver has always been the pain point. So that's exciting.
Yeah, right on. Flo, is that 10,000 songs in your pocket?
It's not actually. It's 17,300.
Oh, see, I was undershooting it. I apologize.
Oh yeah, you were, and how rude of you. Gosh, give me at least 7,000 more.
I know, right?
So we now know, of course, the Pixel 2 devices can listen in on what you're listening to and tell you what it is that you're listening to. And it does this all from the lock screen and all on the device. Well, how does it do it? Well, it's stored those 17,300 songs on your phone. It's a 53 megabyte database that contains all the songs that the device can recognize on its own. Google will update this database based on whatever's on the top charts. I guess I'm curious if that means they'll add on to it, or if they're like shove off songs that maybe aren't relevant to society anymore. I don't know, but there is a database of songs on your Pixel 2 devices, and you can check them all out at XDA.
Yeah, because they pulled all the information from they went poking around and pulled all the information and made it so that you can kind of go in there and see what songs you'll be able to identify from your lock screen. Isn't that weird that 17,000 songs are identifiable with a 53 megabyte database? Like, that just kind of blows my mind, and I don't know if it should. I don't know if that just makes a whole lot of sense or whatever. But if it's 53 megs for 17,000 songs, like, keep going. Go ahead and do a 200 megabyte database and put a bunch more stuff in there, because I guarantee you there's stuff missing there. But it's really cool that they can do that.
I'm really curious what the data that it makes up that 53 meg, right? Like what are the identifying markers, and like how much, you know, what is 53 meg divided by, you know, 17,000 or whatever number of songs? Like how many K or bytes per song? And I'm with you, Jason. Yeah, just push that to 100 meg. Why? Why are you holding on 53? Yeah, so
it's my understanding
actually Sorry.
Blame
I'm sorry,
Skype.
Jerry.
Go ahead, Flo.
I was just going to say, it's my understanding there are many, many different ways to store data in this day and age. More than, like, you can store it in sound, you can store it in, there's just different mediums. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
It's my understanding that they catch a footprint. It's another machine learning thing where they took a song at the lab in Google and they played it, and they picked a certain section of the song and created a digital footprint with it. And the phone listens to the song that's playing, and when it reaches that portion of the song, it builds its own footprint and matches the two. And I mean, that makes sense. So, you know, the person that told me that probably isn't the person who wrote the software that does it, but he seemed to know a little bit about it, so I trusted him. The coolest thing is, and next year I'm not going to be under any type of NDA for the Pixel, because this is so fun. I love this time of year, but I've had to sit here and just shut up, and I'm like, oh, I want to say something, and I can't. We've played with this, and Andrew was Andrew Martinick. I work with him over at Android Central. He was at a coffee shop, and I think he was like at an open air market in Seattle. and it was recognizing songs that he had never heard, Asian music and Spanish language music. So that 17,000 songs that we think is completely random, I have a feeling it's not so random, and they really did a lot of studying to learn exactly what they should put on there and what they shouldn't.
Dang. And I mean, from what I had read, they're going to be, you had asked Flo as far as updating it and everything. Somehow they're going to choose to be able to update that over time and kind of cycle, what are the songs that are currently kind of on the radio and being played a lot, and high charts and all that kind of stuff. Cycle it through. Somewhere along the line, I think Ron, maybe you asked, what is 53 megs divided by 17,300 songs? It's 0.00306. So 0.0031 megs per song. Okay. Does that make sense?
So 0.0031. So
sure.
So that's 3 bytes.
3 bytes.
3 bytes, right?
Close to 3 bytes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's not even a kilobyte per song.
No.
That's crazy. 1985 me's head is exploding right now, by the way.
It took 2 hours to download an MP3.
Yeah, especially just coming off of the fantastic TV show *Halt and Catch Fire* ending this past weekend, which kind of chronicled, like the time of computers that I grew up in, going from, beige box PCs up into, the web browser in the 90s, to what we can do now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Really is. It really
I love it.
Finally, because you were very prolific this week. I think you always are, Jerry. You're always right.
Thanks.
But you wrote an article, and I noticed there was a lot of comment reaction to this one.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd bring it up on the show. You posed the very interesting question on Android Central. 300 comments to date. Like I said, is any phone actually worth $1,000? As we've seen these phone prices for premium devices rise and rise, and now we're starting to kind of, because we have to, we're starting to kind of adapt to the idea that $1,000 phone is not strange. It's just what you pay for a top-of-the-line premium smartphone. Yet you point out in this article, the write-up that hosts the question to your readers, that the V30, which, man, people are very positive. People who have reviewed the device are very positive about the V30. I mean, it comes in around $750, and it's just as much phone as any other, most of these other phones that are clocking in around $1,000. What's your take on this?
Well, my take why it's $750 instead of $1,000 is LG really wants to try to sell some, which is a smart move. It's 25% cheaper than the Samsung or Google or Apple equivalent. And, well, equivalent's the wrong word. Yes, there's more storage on the other phones. Please stop emailing me. I know. But the V30 is a great phone.
It is. I'm using it right now. It's a great one.
It's not my favorite phone, but that's because I'm a spoiled phone reviewer.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to spoiled phone reviewers. Go out and pick it up and look at it, and I think you'll probably think it's a phone just as good as a new Pixel or an iPhone 8 Plus or a Galaxy Note 8. It's a great phone. Why they cost $1,000? I don't know.
It's because people pay it.
People will pay it.
I want to answer my own question. Is any phone actually worth $1,000? No. Next.
Well, here's a question, Jerry. Is any computer worth $1,000?
You're maybe.
Because going back to my reference to beige boxes and *Halt and Catch Fire*, right. Growing up, my dad is a computer engineer and was in the 80s was in the PC business and all that sort of stuff, and then into the 90s he settled into his own business where he was building networks for offices and doing repair and stuff like that. And one of the things I remember being like 10 years old or so, my dad telling me that there are $500 computers, there's a $1,000 computer, and there's a $1,500 and higher computer. And every year, what computer fills those three price points changes because of Moore's law and because of developments and things like that. But he said that as long as he's worked in computers, there's a $500 one, a $1,000 one, and a $1,500 one, and that will always be. And it's true. are phones crossing into that space then?
Oh man, I hope not. I can't afford it.
But are phones computers?
Yes, they're little handheld. There are little computers. Well,
I mean, I know this is a little bit of a philosophical discussion, but like, works like a computer, looks like a computer. It's a computer,
and it's taking the place of a lot of things we used to use a computer to do.
Yeah, really good.
You can do a little bit more on a computer, computer that you used to be able to do 10 years ago, or that you can do on a phone. But, for a lot of people, they don't need a computer anymore if you have a nice phone.
Well, Jerry, if you've got that ZTE, you've got a computer and you flip that phone out and you got a full monitor right there.
Keyboard on the bottom, yeah. But I just, I think in that post I used a Dell XPS as an example. Mm-hmm. It's cheaper than a Note 8. It's got an OLED 2K plus 4K, so a QHD plus, whatever that number means this week. The same as the Note 8. It's got the same quality and resolution display, and it's 4 times as big, and it's about $400 cheaper. So don't tell me the display is where the price increase was, because that's what we've heard so often, is that, well, the display drives the price up. That doesn't explain what Dell can do. It's got the same processor as every other phone. It's got the same processor as this $750, LG phone. I don't want to begrudge, and I'm picking on Samsung because Samsung is Android, but everybody does this. It's not just Samsung. I want them to be able to make a profit, and I want them to continue to stay in business and make my life easier with great products. I really do want that. I don't begrudge that. But I can't help but feel like they're overcharging just because they can.
And that's capitalism.
Yep.
Yeah.
When do we hit a point? When do we hit a point to where it fails because it's so expensive?
I'll tell you what. In 1999, I could buy all the vinyl records I wanted for $3 for a 7-inch and for $8 for a 12-inch. And now I'm seeing records for sale for $35 that I bought in the 90s for $10.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know why? It's not because it costs more to make vinyl. Because I know for a fact, in fact, it's cheaper than ever to make vinyl. It's because people, are willing to pay $35 for a reissue of a record.
Yeah.
So
very true. Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right. We are going to answer a bunch of feedback. We got a few questions to hit up in our email section. But before we do that, let's thank the sponsor of today's episode of All About Android, and that is LegalZoom. I'm a big fan, big user of LegalZoom. Used them far, before I ever worked at Twit to put together our family's will. Right around the time that our first daughter was born. So it was super awesome. But they also do a lot of stuff for business. And as a business owner, if you own a business, you know how important it is to keep moving forward. A lot of the times things come up. They can totally distract you, take your time and focus away from growing your business, which is the most important thing. When it comes to reviewing contracts, registering for trademarks, staying current on fees and permits, all that stuff, LegalZoom.com can help simplify your life. LegalZoom was created 16 years ago by the brightest minds in law and technology, and they've helped more than 2 million business owners easily and affordably navigate the legal system with confidence. And the best part, you never have to worry about an attorney's billable hours piling up because, well, LegalZoom is not a law firm. Instead, you get the advice that you need to answer your business questions at fixed rates through LegalZoom's nationwide network of independent attorneys. So take some pressure off yourself. You're going to get through it. You're going to get all the information you need. Just go to LegalZoom.com now, and you can take care of your business before the year winds down. And for special savings, be sure to enter promo code AAA in the referral box at checkout. That's AAA for special savings when you go to LegalZoom.com. And we thank LegalZoom for their support of All About Android and the Twit Network. All right, email time. Ron, we'll start with you.
We don't have an email bumper. We should get an email bumper, like a little, like an Android guy walking to the mailbox. Anyway,
it really is one of the only segments that we don't have a bumper for. Someday.
Well, I mean, the list is growing. Actually,
true.
we do. Yeah. Anyway, it seems like.
Maybe it's that time.
So our first email comes from Nathan R, who writes in and says, "Hey, was wondering if any phone makers will make a phone with 2 USB-C ports rather than a headphone/comfort port." And Nathan, I hate to disappoint you, but we don't know. Maybe we could probably. I mean, sure. I don't. I could call Samsung. My gut, though, is probably not. I think that in the choice of adding 2 USB-C ports or adding 2 of any port, I don't think have we ever seen a device with 2 USB ports at all.
No,
a Windows computer.
Well, yeah, I mean computers, yes.
Computers, right? Yeah, but phones. I'm saying, I don't know.
I don't think so. I think there's been some crazy stuff with I/O ports like to use in factories, but a retail phone, I don't think so.
Right. I think, and part of it is I think that actually I'm actually working on a hardware project right now, and one of the phases that we just went through was picking components and looking at USB, and I'm using USB-C on the device and looking at the footprint of USB-C connectors in a small device. They're actually bigger than you think. And so I think that given the option to put a second one in there, they probably would, because they want to keep as much space for battery and for all that other stuff. I think I don't see them making that justification. I think they'd rather go the dongle route. So yeah. Yeah. And I know it's a bummer because you want to plug in your headphones and charge, right? Like that's the issue.
I think that's the big kind of use case comparison. Although I believe anyways, there are dongles that allow you to do that. The kind of splitter dongles. It all costs extra money. But we're in the world of Android. People want it all. So give me 2 ports.
I want it all.
Maybe ZTE will make a phone.
Yes.
Flips with a USB-C port on each side.
Last year we brought you the foldable smartphone. This year we bring you 2 USB-C ports on one device.
Well, the real answer, Nathan, is to just get some Bluetooth headphones.
That would be the answer that Ron is going to give you every time.
What I love is that what I don't realize, like people actually, I've gotten a lot of reaction on social media and stuff like that. If you've watched wrestling, you know what I'm doing. Let's just put 2 and 2 together there. Okay, next email. Flo, you're up. So
Yes. Hello, AAA team. I am 90% sure I will be switching to Android to the Pixel 2 from my very old iPhone 5.
Welcome.
Dang. iPhone 5. My question is in regards to Google Voice. I am considering porting my phone number to Google Voice, but would like to know the pros and cons of porting the only number I use and how it integrates with Android. Should I use it with the G Voice app or use it through Hangouts? Thanks, Ramon. I actually think this is a question for Jason. How I don't use Google Voice much.
Well,
I only use it when I'm overseas.
This is a great question from Ramon because I have wanted to do this for years and I'm horrified at the idea of it. I do not want to break anything. Like I have this phone number that I'm holding on to dear life for because everyone has had it since 1998. Yeah. And I'm afraid to do anything to. I just don't want to miss a text message, to be honest with you. So like I have not pulled the trigger on porting this number anywhere. Jason,
I just don't want to miss a text message.
It's true. It's true.
I'm curious, Jerry. Did you hop on the Google Voice train way back when, or have you done that?
Oh yeah, I was Grand Central.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Oh, Grand Central. I was too. I remember that
because two numbers on one device. That was cool.
It was.
I wouldn't do this though. Not for $1 million. Not if you want to keep that phone number.
Well, so you can port your number in, but you can also port your number out, right?
Right. But I would port the number to, if you need to port it to the company who you're going to use for service, and just create a new Google Voice number and try it, and then decide at least.
Yeah.
That's good advice, Jerry.
The challenge there. So I did port my number over to Google Voice. It's basically the number that I've had for years and years and years is my Google Voice number. So now any calls that come through, from anyone that's had my number for however long, it's going to come through Google Voice. I actually like that because it's basically an ongoing catalog of all my calls, through the Google database, let's say. So it's always there on my dashboard. If all my voicemails that I've ever gotten through there are cataloged. I don't know why that's useful, but it is. It's better than, I guess, not having them, I suppose. Ron, I know you understand because you've kept your text messages for.
I'm a digital hoarder, just like the rest of them. So I gotta tell you, as I've been moving phones around from the Moto Z2 to the Pixel and back from the Robin, the WhatsApp chat log backup feature. I'm like, oh, thank God, I can keep all of these chats forever.
Yeah. So I did that. I don't regret it. There are just weird little random things that come up when you're using Google Voice, like. You have to tell the app, of course, whether all of your phone calls are coming from your Google Voice number or they're coming from your device number, or ask every time or whatever. And if you ever set that wrong or forget to do the right thing, then suddenly, you call someone for the first time and they see your device number instead of your Google Voice number. They think that's your number, and then it's like you've fragmented your number, how you're reached. And that can potentially get kind of confusing when you call someone from the wrong number and they're like, wait a minute, did you change your number? No. Let me explain to you the story of Google Voice, and you open the book.
You need to be very vigilant with your use of Google Voice to make sure that you don't have the wrong thing active at the wrong time. Yeah.
But I personally, I don't think I would not necessarily advise never port your number over, because you can port it away. So at least there's that. It is a good idea, though, I think, to kind of, like you were saying, Jerry, step your toes into the water and test out some of the features a little bit. It's just hard to do that without actually moving people over, because you want to know what the experience is like when you're receiving calls from people without actually inconveniencing them.
I love the experience. I use Google Voice as my number. I don't even know my SIM phone or my SIM card number.
Yeah.
But I'm skittish because I lost my Google Voice number, and it happened to be a number that I ported in when you could first do it in 2014 or something, that I had since the late 90s through T-Mobile.
Oh, man.
And I signed up for Project Fi day one, and everything was going good. And I get an email saying that my Google Voice number is ineligible. And I'm like, what? Why? And I emailed them back, and you have a choice. You can do it or you can't. But either way, your voice number is gone. You'll have to pick a new one.
Oh, okay.
And that was a pain in the butt. And I don't know why mine was ineligible. It may have been just a fluke. And, maybe I'm like Artem and bad things just happen to me.
Jerry's luck.
I think that losing the number would upset me, but the not knowing why would haunt me for years.
Yeah, totally. That would really stink. Cousin of Jean in chat asked, why would you ever change that setting? And that's another inconvenient thing that I've noticed with Google Voice, is that sometimes, depending on your connectivity, like my data connectivity might not be strong, but my mobile connectivity is really good, and I need to make a phone call, and for whatever reason my call is not working through Google Voice, so I disable it so that I can make it through my mobile number, and it works that way. And so sometimes, like, random things like that happen, and that's where you can kind of get into trouble, because you end up making these exceptions, and it kind of makes things a little messier.
And that's why you need to be vigilant. But when you're questioning why on earth would that ever happen, let's not forget Jason's great two-factor authentication moment, where when we learned that anything can happen.
Yes. So, if you have your main number as your Google Voice number, as your like main account number on your Google account, when you set up two-factor authentication to receive the code that's required in order to get into your Google account that your Google Voice number is maintained through, don't then provide your Google Voice number, because it's a recursive thing that means that you will be locked out forever. I've experienced it. Learn from my mistake. Anyways,
dark times.
Yes, you can look it up. It's a fun little journey if you want to. It was on This Week in Google. Do I use the Google Voice app or Hangouts? I actually still use Hangouts for all this stuff.
When is it going away, though?
Who knows? I don't know, but it keeps working for me.
I know they said it was going away, and then it's been better than ever since they said that. So
yeah,
I don't
know,
know.
right?
Who
Still
knows?
using it.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, there we go. So we have an email from Todd Baldwin, rock and roll piano player on the road. Thank you for writing from the road, Todd. He says, I'm retiring my diehard Nexus 6. He loved that phone. Says, I just ordered a new Pixel 2 XL. It'll be the first device that I own that has USB-C, if it ever arrives. As I'm sure you've experienced, those are his words, by the way. As I'm sure you've experienced, converting everything from micro USB to another standard is frustrating and expensive. The question I have is whether it's safe to use my existing USB A chargers, like car chargers, wall chargers, etc., and just get cables that convert from USB-A to C. I don't know if there are benefits to getting a dedicated USB-C charger or if the cables will simply do the trick. I don't want to hurt my new Pixel 2, especially in the car where it will be used constantly. It just seems like getting new cables that convert would be the cheapest route since I already own so many chargers. I would recommend not doing the converter cables if you can avoid it. I understand it's expensive. Maybe you can kind of play it by ear. I don't know if it's necessarily there's a risk of hurting your Pixel by doing that conversion. It probably all depends. I mean, is there a risk there, Jen?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. With wattage of your charging components.
Well, also a properly built conversion cable. The risk is in the conversion cable. Needs a special resistor in one end, and a lot of these cheap USB cables just don't have the resistors. They sell them, you plug them in, and your phone can just randomly go bzz, and it's done.
Benson Long.
Jerry has a wonderful article all about it on Android Central, which is where I learned all about the resistors.
That's in another life, I was an electrical engineer, so sometimes that comes in handy.
Yeah.
But I would appreciate if you read the article I wrote. But Todd, go to bensonapproved.com.
Yes, that's where you can find all the stuff that you want to buy.
Yeah.
There's an affiliate code. It supports him. He keeps doing the testing.
And he works for Google. He actually works and tests and builds and engineers hardware for Google. And he has links to the conversion cables that you can use. And it's not going to charge your phone very fast. You know, you're not going to have any type of fast charging, but your phone will be fine. It won't blow up.
Good.
It's still not ideal.
Not blowing up phone is much better than a blowing up phone. And yeah, I mean, that's a good point, right? Like a lot of times when you do these conversions, it ends up removing one of the probably biggest benefits of using and converting to, you know, cables that are absolutely compatible. And that's, you know, if you're stripping away the fast charge, like that's one of the best things about a phone in the modern age.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, it's one of the best inventions that we've seen in the last couple of years is that fast charge is a great alternative to improved battery technology that keeps not happening. Instead, fast charge it. 15 minutes gives you 8 hours of usage. That's a great alternative, and you're going to get that if you get the right cables.
And the charger that comes with your Pixel 2 XL is really nice. It's a big charger that charges really fast for the first 40% or so. Yeah. So you'll like that, and you may like it enough to want to buy others like it. I think you will.
Right on. Excellent.
I think you're gonna like it.
You're gonna love it. Ron, you're up next.
Yes. So next email from Abram Miller, who writes it in reaction to my app from the arena last week. Sticklings, or that was what it's called, right? Yeah. He says, I used to love to play Lemmings as well on my old PC XT clone with CGA graphics. There you go, beige boxes. I checked out Sticklings and it was okay, but I think you'd really like World of Goo if you never tried it. It came out several years ago, kind of along the same lines and really fun, kind of a cross between a bridge building game and Lemmings. The demo is free, paid version is $5. And if my memory serves, Jason, you had this game in the arena.
Oh man, this was a long time ago. Yeah,
long time ago.
Yes.
I remember you bringing it, and I did play it and did enjoy it. So good thinking, Abram. Thanks for reminding us.
I forgot
World of
about
Goo was
this
a fun
game.
game.
Yeah, I forgot about this game. This was a good game.
I wouldn't be surprised if it won the arena. Now I need to go look that up. And thank you to our guys who managed the All About Arena, All About Android Arena wiki. You guys are the best. Thank you. So, and you can go look at it all at twit.to/Android apps. So
that's right. Twit.to/Android apps and twit.to/Arena stats. But we aren't there yet.
No, I know. But thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. And then let's see here. Oh, Flo, you got the last one.
We've got one more little feedback question here. This is from Jim. He says, I was wondering if it is worth installing the new Pixel 2 launcher on my first gen Pixel XL, or will it screw up my phone? The answer, Jim, is that it is confirmed to work. The Pixel 2 launcher is confirmed to work on Pixel XL running 8.0 Oreo. It installs on top of the older Pixel launcher, the one that came with your phone, but it should work just fine. And there are modified versions that allow it to work with other devices too, if maybe you've got other devices around or anybody else out there is listening and wants to do the same thing. It works with the Galaxy Note 8 running 7.1 Nougat, for example. The Google Now panel won't appear on those devices if you simply install the official APK, though. You have to use a modded version from XDA to get the Google Now functionality. So if you're feeling brave, you can do that. There's also another mod that allows for Marshmallow support if maybe you're hanging back a couple of versions and you also want to join the club.
And I imagine overall, eventually, that Pixel 2 launcher will just come to the Pixel 1 anyways. I mean, it's the
and then
same
you just
launcher,
put it on
they'll
everything.
just update it.
The dev preview has it in it for the original Pixel.
There we go. So if you want,
who knows when that'll be final? So
exactly. In the meantime, you can wow all your friends by installing it right now.
Before we move on, going back to World of Goo, that was actually in All About Android episode number 38.
Oh,
Jason,
wow.
you were not on the show that week.
So
it wasn't even a Jason one.
It was me, Eileen, and we had our guest, my good friend Mauricio. And Eileen had World of Goo, and it won the arena. So there you go.
Wow.
I remembered it won. So there you go.
Those are the days. That was a long time ago. That was beyond 1 year. That was right around a year.
Yep. Episode 38. Crazy.
Dang.
All right. We're going to take a quick break before we get to the current arena to thank our last sponsor of the evening. We want to thank Hover for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. And Hover wants to know, what are you passionate about? Do you have a great idea for a business? Are you launching a creative project? Well, buying a domain is the first and biggest step to building your brand online. And let me tell you, as we talked about, I do a lot of podcasts. I tinker with little startup projects and things like that. And the brand that you pick is so important, and buying the domain name to support that online brand is one of the most important steps of any project I work on. I can't tell you the number of projects where we've gone through names and it's like, all right, what about this name? And I go and I immediately check to see if the domain name is free. And if it's not, then we move on to the next idea, because that's how important it is. And luckily enough, Hover is a great tool to help you with that. Hover has over 400 domain extensions to help you choose from to help you brand yourself. That's a lot of choices to help you find the perfect domain name. So if you're a blogger or a company trying to create new leads or inform your customer base, you can use .blog instead of the generic .com or .biz domain names. And by using .blog, you're telling everyone to expect impactful content about your topic or business rather than a generic homepage. And .blog domains are on sale at Hover for the entire month of October for $8.99. That's 70% off your first year. So whatever your interest might be, Hover's got an extension for you. They've got .tech, .photo, .security. I love these new domain extensions. These they allow you to pick a domain name that helps your customers or your users know what that site is about. And you know what else is great about Hover? They've got best-in-class customer support and no upsells. The Hover Connect feature allows you to connect your domain to any host or website builder with a few simple clicks, and personalized email that matches your domain and further supports your online identity. If you're doing business online, if you're creating content online, you need a great domain name, and Hover's where you want to go. Show the online community who you are and what you're passionate about. Go to hover.com/twit and get 10% off your first purchase. That's hover.com/twit. And we thank Hover for their support and helping us brand ourselves well on the internet. Thanks, Hover.
All right. Thank you, Hover. All right, and now I think it's time we've all come with our apps ready to battle. It's time for the arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
Last week we came with our apps ready to battle, and Ron brought it apparently.
Jeez Louise.
I don't want to brag.
Yeah, you don't have to, Ron. You don't have to. It's okay. Sticklings wins with 34% of the vote. Messenger Lite came in second at 25%.
I was second. I'm okay with second.
Excellent job, Flo. Trip.com, third place at 21%. I have a feeling that would have been a little higher if Mateo had brought a goat app. But anyways.
Most deaf.
Yeah. And I came in last, almost literally a vote shy of tying with Mateo with Parrot Voice Recorder. Doesn't matter. I know it's a great app. What are the standings?
So unfortunately, it looks like Wade County is either late to the show or not in the chat room as of right now.
Actually,
so I don't know what the standings are.
Wade
did he just join? He just joined. I was frantically, as you were talking about that, I was frantically going to the win stats on the awesome All About Android wiki on the Twit wiki to try to pull out what the what the stats are as I continue to vamp as Wade County has just gotten home. But let me tell you, I am still firmly in first place. I was in first place last week.
Okay.
First place this week. Beyond that, who knows? So there you go.
Ron doesn't care.
All you need to know is that Ron's winning right now. Ron, you are winning.
I believe I've got 112 points. Wait, what were the standings in last week's arena? Tell me again.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway,
it's
I'm in first place. Flo might be in second place. Guests are probably in third,
and
Jason
I'm probably
still last
because I lost again, so I'm definitely last. He just got home, so Wade, we'll give you a break. You can just get comfortable, relax. If you get him in there or not, it's totally up to you. And if you do, we'll throw him in there. And we appreciate all your work.
Don't worry.
Okay, so I guess that means I go first. So I will. Right now with an app called Lawn Chair Launcher. That's fun to say.
I got to tell you, Jason, I went into the dock this morning to go put my app in. And I went, Jason got me.
Well, Ron, you got the other one that I was considering. So, what is Lawn Chair Launcher? Which is a lot of fun to say out loud, by the way. It's an open source free launcher that might look familiar. Does that look familiar to you? I mean, aside from the Samsung apps.
Why, yes. It looks like the Pixel launcher.
Yes, but this is not the Pixel launcher, even though it looks so much like it. It's Lawn Chair. Now, this is basically developed by folks who are lovingly kind of emulating the features. I mean, they're basically, their goal is to bring the Pixel launcher features to other phones without you having to side load an APK of the actual Pixel launcher and update that or whatever. It's open source. They're maintaining it. And as you can see, it's a pretty great great example of the Pixel launcher. And, it fools me. You go up there with the search and everything like that. If you want to get into the settings, I can just double tap this. It's got the same interface for dropping widgets and wallpaper. But I can go into the settings and I can, go in here and tweak things, whether I want a wide search bar up at the top. It has a lot of, functionality, support for icon packs if you want to change those up. It does have notification dot support on the icons on your home screen, so you get that functionality. Adaptive icons. You can do Google Now here, though I did not set that up, but you can do Google Now. It does require the install of a separate APK called Lawn Feed, and if you go to their Play Store page, you can get the link to that APK. That will activate the Google Now pane on the side. You have to install that in order to do that, but it's just kind of a nice way to, if you don't want to, if you've checked out other launchers and maybe there's something you don't like, or you want something that's really just focused on bringing Pixel launcher features to your non-Pixel device, this is a way to do it. Of course, you can back up all of the savings as you kind of get in here and tweak the many things that you want to kind of change the look and feel of the app to your preference. You can go ahead and back that up and everything. You've also got, well, here's the icon pack support up here. If you've got some icon packs installed, you can throw those in here and then, tweak everything to your heart's content. Icon size, icon scale, everything from the look of the widgets, all along here. It's actually quite a bit of settings in here if you want to get in there and play around with it. But it's even got the weather up top, so you can tap that and it'll take you to the Google weather. It's pretty much, you could fool me with this by looking at this and thinking that you had actually installed the Pixel launcher. And like I said, it's open source. So it's a work in progress. It says on the Play Store that it's unreleased. So you might, in fact, encounter bugs here and there. I haven't encountered any yet, actually, and I've been living with this for a few days now. They do say that it's not supported on Oreo yet. So this is for Nougat and before. I'm not sure how far back it goes. And there are no Pixel 2 features, Pixel 2 launcher features built into here yet. But I would imagine that's going to change as that launcher comes out and more information about that kind of hits. You're probably going to see that here too. So they're working on it for you, and it's free. It's called Launcher Launcher. There we go, and it's free, and you can check that out on the Play Store. All right, Flo, I believe you are up next, and I have your app installed. Though you know what, I don't have Spotify, so I hope I can show this off without Spotify.
Oh,
I think I can.
You're gonna you have to log in to show it.
Okay, talk about it, and I'll see what I can do.
But it's okay. So this is not as exciting as Jason's app, but maybe you want to wake up to a nice, cool song in the morning that's on your Spotify playlist. I switch phones a lot, and they don't all have the same alarm. So now I've been waking up to music, and it's a lot softer. It's a lot nicer. But this is it. Honestly, Jason, all you have to show is that next screen.
Mm-hmm.
So just tap on the alarm. And that's it. So here you can tap to select a playlist from your Spotify profile. So you're going to have to log in to do that. But it works. I've been using it for a couple days. You can choose whether it fades in. You can choose whether you want to shuffle, a playlist of things. You can choose whether you want to add vibrations and a notification to kind of make sure you wake up. And you can snooze it if you like. When it is ringing, and kind of listen to the music later on in the morning. It's just a little app for playing your Spotify playlist or a favorite song in the morning, so you don't have to wake up to an alarm. Nice. It works on phones and tablets. It lets you play any track, any playlist or album from Spotify, and you can also play music through other devices with the Spotify Connect integration. The only thing about this is in the Play Store, it is labeled as unreleased. So that comes with its own set of stumbles.
Do we know why that's happening? I feel like that's happening more and more.
It's in testing beta. So it's like the app is there, you can use it, but there's no official beta, I'm assuming. I'm assuming it just means the developer is just working on it forever in the background, which is fine.
Yeah, Launcher had unreleased in the title as well, and I've definitely seen it on a lot of other things. Yeah,
me too.
So,
yeah.
And it's kind of a curiosity as far as what that actually means from a user perspective. But I think it just kind of calls out that, like you said, Flo, it's a work in progress, and you might encounter things here and there, but
and you can use it to wake up to your Spotify playlist or whatever you want.
Nice.
And it works with Spotify Connect?
It does.
Well, thanks, Flo.
So does that mean that all the speakers in your house are now going to light up and wake everybody in the house up when it's?
We're going to see what I.
Yeah.
We're going to see what I can do about that.
Exactly. I was going to say, off topic, that the Google Home does do that now, but anyway, that's off topic.
Yeah, but related. Awesome.
Well, yeah. Yes. Anyway, sorry. Cool. Okay, I was going to add that now that I have reminders set for 8 in the morning, every morning the Google Home wakes me up and goes, I have a reminder for Florence.
Oh, what's the reminder?
It's none of your business.
Okay, yeah. Good answer.
So scary. All my Google Home and Echo ever says is the microphone is off, because I'm leaving that sucker off. I don't want
Jerry is smarter than Flo.
So then
Jerry, these are my friends, so
So then I have to ask you, Jerry, if the microphone is always off, how often do you use your Google Home?
I actually use it a lot every day. I just walk over and hit the button. It's very unintuitive and probably not the reason anybody would ever want one.
Yeah.
But I need to have them for work, so I appreciate the cool stuff they can do. I'm just really freaked out about something that listens to me all the time.
Yeah.
And not like it did with Artem. That was a bug where it listened and uploaded stuff. But it's always listening. It records everything it hears locally. And if it thinks it's important, it actually saves it locally. If it hears the hot word, then it transmits it. So, I don't know. I'm just paranoid.
Yeah. Understand. All right, so that is spot on alarm for Spotify. Thank you, Flo, for that. Jerry, you are up next. And I'm sorry I don't have a Daydream to show this off on today. But
my app
is
called Tinfoil Hat, and it's what you wear if you don't, or if you're paranoid. No, it's called Bait, and it's a Daydream game, and it's fishing. It's fun fishing. It's kind of like fishing with a little bit of Pokemon Go mixed in, where you try to catch these crazy fish that are nothing even close to lifelike, and the characters in it aren't lifelike, and the action in it isn't lifelike, but it's fun. And I like to have fun, and I don't know, I needed a reason to use Daydream, so I bought a bunch of apps, and I really liked this one the most out of the ones I bought, and I actually play it a lot. It's just silly. I don't know how to describe it more than that. There's a bait shop. You can upgrade your equipment. You find new equipment or buy it. Or like that's a parrotfish. That doesn't look like a parrot or a fish. It just looks like a Pokemon thing. That's the way I describe it. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So if you have a Daydream, it's worth checking out. You don't have to be a fisherman. It's just kind of fun and it's addictive. You you only need 2 more fish, and you will go and look for those. I guess that's what games should be.
Yeah. Right on. It's called Bait with an exclamation point. And which I have to ask you, because like I've been really interested in VR the past year and a half, but I've also noticed that my Daydream viewer has just kind of sat in the office and it hasn't been used. I mean, do you think that's normal? I mean, I'm wondering how many people are using Daydream at this point.
I think everybody that wanted to use it is already accounted for. Yeah. And its future is in doubt. I think a lot of it's Jason, you and I, we're too busy. That's part of the reason we spend our free time doing stuff that's related to our job, because that's just part of this type of job. But a lot of for other normal people, you just haven't found anything cool. And that's where I was. There was just nothing cool. I looked and, oh yeah, that's kind of neat. And oh, here's a National Geographic video. That's kind of cool. But there was nothing that really made me want to do it again. So Russell Hawley, I work with him, and he is into VR. He's he's just a VR nut. He said, you got to just try a bunch of stuff. So we spent about $100 and bought a whole bunch of Daydream stuff, and a lot of it's free. So don't be afraid that you have to spend a lot of money. And I found one that I really liked, and I'll bet I play it 5 or 6 hours a week.
Nice. Got to find the right thing then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I played a lot, and then I think you're right though. Too busy. If I had a lot of free time,
the kids into it. Yeah. With the casting on the TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Get them into the VR thing. I'll be guaranteed to play then, because they won't let me not let them.
I found that I liked it enough. I bought an HTC Vive.
Oh.
I wanted to take it the next step, because this game is silly, but I really enjoy it. I enjoy the whole idea of it. I don't like to use the word immersive because it's so cartoony and unreal, but it's a different way to play games, and I really liked it. So I bought a Vive.
Nice. I would like to buy a Vive. It's kind of like buying a vowel. I would like to buy a Vive. Maybe someday I'll get one of the top of the line VR setups, but I'd
like to buy an A.
I'll buy a VR. Awesome stuff. Ron, I have your app installed, and I almost used it too. So we have like a reversal today.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you because this app is a bit of a game changer. So we've all, all of us that have worked in the digital kind of content space have suffered through the move to digital from analog. We watched the music studios just botch it, and we had 10 plus years of misery with DRM and, trying to figure all that out. Oh, excuse me. Anyway,
okay,
wow,
Ron? Are you okay?
I almost died there. I got choked up talking about media. But here we are in 2017, and it looks as if the movie studios have finally figured it out with the release of Movies Anywhere. And by movie studios, I mean Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, Sony, and Fox. They've all banded together and have kind of come to work together in the middle. And release this Movies Anywhere app, which is an app where you can purchase and watch movies digitally through streaming, right? It's got Chromecast support, as you would expect from an Android app. But here's what's really interesting about it. Not only have these studios come together, they've enabled you to authenticate with 4 platforms that you're probably already on. So if you've been buying and watching movies on Vudu, Google Play, Amazon Video, or iTunes, anyway, you can log in to those platforms and sync your previous purchase to the Movies Anywhere app. So, for example, when I logged in, when I set up this app, I logged into my Google Play account because that's natural. I use Google Play. I've bought movies there, and bam, they're all there in the Movies Anywhere app. I can watch them there. Then I logged into my Amazon account, and bam, there were the movies I bought from Amazon. This is genius. And then on top of that, you can see the promo. If you scroll back down, Jason, if you sync at least 2 of the 4 accounts, you can get 5 free movies, which is awesome as well too. They're really want to entice you to sync these accounts, and you get Big Hero 6, which is an awesome movie, Jason Bourne, the Lego Movie, like some decent movies, Ghostbusters, say what you will.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah. So, but that said, it's got Disney, Universal, Sony, Fox, Warner Brothers. They make a lot of the movies we all want to see on a daily, weekly basis. And the app really isn't that bad. It's got, kind of old school material design, kind of Android design straight out there. They've organized it by, franchises or genres. There's a whole bunch of information. They've got extras and all that sort of stuff in there. And when you want, you can buy it from the app, or if you have purchased the Blu-ray or the DVD and you have the digital code, you can enter it into this app and unlock the digital version. I know I'm trying to purge all physical media from my life, and I want to stream everything. This is fantastic. I'm going to go through all my Blu-rays and type in the codes and just sync them up with this app, and then boom, I don't need those discs anymore. That's great. And then if you want to buy a movie, as opposed to buying it, like remembering, did I buy that on Vudu, or did I buy that on Google Play? Did I buy that on Amazon? Just buy them here, right? Or if you, for some reason, want to buy them on Google Play, you can sync them with this app. And then when you're on the go, you can watch them anywhere. And like I mentioned, it has Chromecast support. You can Chromecast it to your TV. This is really what we've been waiting for. And I'm glad to see the movie industry kind of figuring it out. I did mention how you can log into your Vudu account, Google Play account, Amazon Video, and iTunes. That's only if you're on an iOS device. If you try to sync the iTunes account on the Android app, it is actually grayed out. And Jason, try that. Go to hit the hamburger menu.
It probably won't let me do it because I don't think I'm logged in right now.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Can you log in or not log in? All right, well, fine.
I can. Hold on. Let's see. Hey, that was easy. Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah,
okay.
It's really really nice.
Right.
So now click on go back to the menu and click on My Movies. It should sync your account if you bought movies. No, go.
I have tons of movies on my account. Where is it?
Go to My Movies.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. So it's got all your movies there. Just like that's all it took. All you had to do was log in.
Yep.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah, and what you see here, this is basically pulled from, like, I've synced Play, all my Play purchases, which is like 95% of what you see here, except for all this stuff up at the top. Basically, all of that is the freebies.
That's the stuff they gave you for syncing your account.
Yes. And I'm sorry that I own the Emoji Movie. I'm really sorry about that. Anyway,
I saw that.
I feel the need to apologize for that because, wow, that was really bad.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so if you hit the hamburger menu and then go to manage retailers, right? So if you had a Voodoo account or a Google Play, or you could tap that. iTunes, if you notice iTunes, it is grayed out. I don't even know why they show it. Why do they do it, right? Like, that's so weird.
That is really strange.
Yeah. So Movies Anywhere, it's a free app. If you've purchased movies on the Google Play Store or on Amazon or on Vudu, I don't know why you don't get this app and consolidate them all into one place. That just makes sense. So yeah, I think it's a great step by the movie industry. I'm glad to see that, and hopefully Paramount, Lionsgate, and MGM come on board so that we get every movie. Unfortunately, it's very studio. Of course, it's studio focused. So if you're into indie movies, that is, you might still need to use Just Watch to find what platform that indie movie you want is on. But hey, for the majority of the movies that come out, this is great. So it's free in the Google Play Store. Check it out.
Nice. Yes, highly recommend it. All right, so you can place your vote. The URL is a little different this week, so listen up. twit.to/AAA vote 339. twit.to/AAA vote 339. If you go to the one it normally is, you're going to get one of the different selections in the poll that is not it's not a word that's anywhere. Yes, it's a typo. So go to twit.to/AAA vote 339 and place your vote. Is it lawn chair, spot on alarm for Spotify, bait, or Movies Anywhere?
I got a good feeling about Victor. Yeah, Victor, good call, my friend.
Whatever, Victor.
That was the first one that hit my mind, and I looked at the sheet, and I'm like, well.
Yep, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long.
Oh, I'm not sorry. As long as you're telling people about it, because this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's what we've wanted for literally years. And it's kind of when it came out, I was like, no, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Like I was in disbelief.
Same thing. Right. They told me that at work, and I'm like, no, there's a catch.
That's pretty awesome. And you get 5 movies for free, so that's awesome as well.
Also, syncing it with your Vudu syncs as long as you sync your ultraviolet. If you have a big ultraviolet locker library, it pulls the ultraviolet into there also.
I mean, that's the beauty of this service, is that it really pulls in all of the things. So you have one consolidated list. You're not splintered. It doesn't do rentals though, so it's just purchases. But still very, very cool. That's it. Hey, we've packed a lot of information in today's episode, as we usually try to anyways. And a big reason for that, of course, is Jerry. You're awesome. We're always stoked to have you on. Jerry Hildenbrand from AndroidCentral.com. Thank you for coming on.
Jerry is the best.
Jerry.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Man, it's always a pleasure. Where do you want people to follow all the awesome work you're doing online?
Well, I work at AndroidCentral.com, but if you just go to Twitter, I am at GBHIL. And I'm not good at social media, so I can only manage one at a time, and that's where I'm at.
And I understand that. I've got 1 million social media accounts, and I pretty much only manage Twitter at this point. It's too difficult. Jerry, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Flo, what about you? What's going on in your world?
There's stuff going on.
Yeah.
Just keep privy with me on Twitter at OhThatFlo for now until I get some more ducks in a row. Quack, quack.
Okay. All right. I'm very intrigued, very interested. We'll talk. Thank you, Flo. What about you, Ron?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at RonXO, and that's where you can get all my up-to-the-minute nonsense. And then go check out my other show at ifanboy.com, where we're talking about comic books and comic book TV shows and movies and things like that. Good times to be had there. So
radical. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You can find me at jasonhowell.net, yellowgoldmusic.com. News still coming. Man, this is taking me forever. At this point, this new album's not going to hit until the beginning of the year, but whatever. It'll happen when it happens.
Man, it's worth waiting.
Britney Spears has said the same things.
And then I'm going to surprise you out of nowhere. No. I promise you'll see it coming a mile away. By the way, twit.tv/best of. Yes, it's that time of year where we start asking for best ofs. It blew my mind too when I thought about it, but we're almost at the end of the year and we got to put together a best of for this episode and all sorts of episodes across all of our shows on the network. So if you go to twit.tv/best of, you can submit moments from this show, from this episode, from any episode throughout the year, even if you have just a general idea of what it is. The more information, the better. That's going to help our editors, possibly Victor, who is TDing the show today. And thank you very much, Victor, for putting together a really great end-of-year episode with all the best moments. So help us out, why don't you? If there's something you want in there, twit.tv/best of. Let us know for this and all shows across the Twit Network. We'd really appreciate it. But that is it for this week's show. Really appreciate you joining us each and every week. Leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. You can send us email or video mail at AAA@twit.tv. We have a Twitter account at Android Show. Sometimes we chat on there from time to time. Not very much, but that's okay. Reddit, twit.aaa.reddit.com. Every app from every episode is listed at twit.to/Android apps. Twit.to/Android apps. Stats for the arena. Twit.to/arena stats. Show notes of past episodes at twit.tv/AAA. And we're live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific at twit.tv/live. You'll find us here each and every week at around that time. But that's all we got this week anyways. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody.